You probably noticed I turned on the recording here. So this is so that you can share this with your colleagues, anybody who couldn't attend today. So I want to make sure we make the content available to anybody who needs it. My name is Pete Graychuk. I'm joined by my colleague Etienne Grobler. He's going to do the actual product presentation. I'll take you through some preliminary introductory slides just to introduce the concepts and who we are. If you have questions as we go along, please enter them into the Q&A, and I prefer that over the chat because the Q&A does get recorded, and if I happen to miss something through our session, it will be captured there and I can get back to you after the fact. So thanks again for joining. I guess it's morning, afternoon, or evening. I noticed we had some folks from South Africa joining, so thank you for taking some time to be with us. A little bit about North49. If you don't know us, we've been around a long time, and I think we're, pretty well known in the Sage partner circles. But we've been around, most of the principals have been around for 30 plus years in the ACPAC community and the Sage 300 community. We also work with Sage Intacct as well. A number of products built over the years. Sage owns most of them now and had us incorporate them into the actual source code of Sage 300. And that was back in the 2014 release. The only things we have left in our portfolio is our e-commerce suite, and that includes our customer portal, and it also includes Webtelligence, which is our integrated e-commerce platform to Sage 300. Now, the customer portal has always been part of the full e-commerce platform, but because it communicates live to Sage 300, as does the Webtelligence, as well as other communication methods, but because of this communication method, we were able to separate it and provide it as a standalone product. And we started to do that a couple of years ago. Most recently, within the past year or so, we became a Sage endorsed solution, and we are now published on the Sage 300 price list in North America, which means that you will purchase this directly from Sage for your customers, earn tier credit, margin, and all that stuff directly from Sage. So enough about that. And certainly, if you have questions, feel free to enter them into the Q&A. And again, prefer Q&A over the chat because it does get recorded. So let's just go along here and show you what the product is all about. So since the pandemic hit, a whole bunch of stuff has changed. And I know we're probably preaching to the choir here. You guys know all this stuff, but things are probably going to stick around that, folks started to adopt because of the pandemic. And then for us, and particularly, we haven't really been to the office to work for a couple of years, and we may never go back. We are at least as much or more productive working remotely. And, we work in an industry where that's possible, of course, recognize that not all companies can do that. But merchants, customers have become accustomed to dealing with things in a certain way. And they found out that it's very convenient to do it this way. And they're not going to want to go back to the way they used to do things, whatever that was. And this bottom sort of quote here from Essential Retail is the one that's very telling, and we should be paying attention to it, because if our customers are saying they want this kind of service and they'll find somebody who will provide it if we don't, we need to get on this and make sure that we are providing the service that they expect from us. Now, this is becoming a growing expectation for years, not just because of the pandemic. It started well before that, and because we become accustomed to dealing with these online marketplaces, of course, like Amazon and all these other ones. So we become accustomed to a certain level of self-service, I guess. And we want that. We want to deal with that, not just in our personal lives, but in our work lives as well. And there's no reason why a typical merchant or vendor can't provide this kind of service to their customers. It's affordable now, it's easy to implement. And so there's no reason why you shouldn't do that. So customers have that expectation now, and we need to deliver this as people who provide them products and services. And for the merchant, for your clients, there's a huge benefit as well, because all of these, I guess, call them low value customer interactions, like, how much do I owe you? Can you resend my invoice? I want to make a payment. All these kind of things can now be done by the customer directly, and offloading that whole burden, I guess, if you want to call it that, from the internal staff, be it customer service staff, sales staff, whomever. Customers can do it themselves, and everything just ends up inside of Sage automatically without the merchant having to do anything. So it saves a ton of time, a ton of money. Paper, if they're still sending out paper invoices, because with our click to pay functionality, you can embed a link that allows them to do that. So there's a huge benefit to the merchant from a time saving and money saving standpoint, as well as providing that higher level of customer service that our customers expect from us now. And I mentioned quickly click to pay. So this is sort of the most basic form of what you can provide, a merchant can provide to their customers. So inside of Sage 300, you have the ability to embed a link on that document or perhaps in the email that goes out to that customer. And that'll contain the necessary information we need to pop up this page. And Etienne will show you this when he gets into the live demo. And this allows them to simply pay that invoice document. Very simple application. Some people get the portal just for this. Nobody has to log in. It's simple. They should simply click the pay invoice button, pay it, and away they go. Or you have the full portal capability in behind that as well, should they choose to use that. And this is where somebody would have to log in. They'll have a user set up on the portal, and you can have multiple users for any one AR account. And this would allow them to view their entire document history inside of Sage, to even place orders, to pay on account, to pay multiple invoices on account. All that kind of stuff becomes possible with the full-fledged customer portal. And this quick order entry form, now we don't want to overcharacterize this as a web store. It really doesn't go that far, although, you know, there are some elements in here that sort of broach on that. But it just is more aimed at obviously a B2B customer, somebody who's familiar with your product line. They'll type in some bit of the product description, the item number, something that lives in any one of those 4 additional item information lines to draw up what they want to purchase. And we can display an image and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's just a quick way for somebody who deals with you frequently, knows what they want to buy, just wants to get in and out quick. This is an easy way for them to do that. And Etienne's going to show you this as well in real life. Now, the portal does have a back-end administration side to it that the merchant has access to, and they can control the features and functions and all this stuff on the portal. But typically, once it gets set up, it doesn't need any attention. It just does what it does. As long as Sage is running and our component we call Connect is running, and that's just a web service that sits inside of your Sage server waiting for us to ask it a question and return the answer. And incidentally, we do not store any data on the portal. It's a live read and feed of data to and from Sage 300. So there's no process to run at any point in the day to upload anything to the portal or download any payments or anything like that into Sage. We do it live. And when we do so, we consume a Sage LAN pack to do that, or a user license. And that Connect component is the one that governs that conversation back and forth. That's kind of how we communicate. So keep that in the back of your mind, because that answers a lot of questions that might come up in your mind as, can you do this? Can you do that? How do we do this? How do we do that? It's a live read of data in Sage. If data exists in Sage, we can get at it and serve it up. Now, there is the standard portal that we have packaged and we sell at a specific price. But it is possible for us to make customer-specific or merchant-specific features on it, which we have done in a few cases. So that's enough of me rambling on. I'm going to turn it over to Etienne, and he will show you the actual product. And again, if you have questions, pop them into the Q&A. I'll attempt to answer them, or I'll interrupt Etienne and get him to answer them as we go along.
Well, thank you, Peter, and good morning, everyone. You should be seeing my wonderfully refreshing blank screen. I would like to start the kind of entry point into the demo just by looking at Click to Pay, because it is so simple and it does describe a lot of data. You know, my fear as I go through explaining is that it seems a lot more complex than what it is, and I will frequently during my demo mention this is optional. And, you know, when I touch on those subjects, it literally would be a checkbox, which you as the owner of the portal is going to be able to check or uncheck to display or not display certain functionality. And so I don't want to make it seem complex. And so I'll just kind of, you know, try and mitigate trying to explain features by simply saying, okay, now let's go ahead and click here. And so do want to invite you, if you see anything on a screen and you happen to watch the video back, to please contact us and let us kind of rabbit trail and dig a little deeper. So as Peter mentioned, Click to Pay is your ability to embed a link on a document that you send out to a customer. Very typically, that would either be right on the invoice that you're kind of going to PDF and email out to him, or you do it in the email. And even within Sage 300, when you set up the email template where you're going to email an invoice out to a customer, you can build this link where it just says click here, and the customer is going to click it. I've kind of mocked up an equivalent here in a Word document. Does exactly the same thing, and this, you know, a letter to Ronald Black, hey, you owe us money for this invoice. And then the link embedded. The link's really simple. It just gives the system the customer number and the invoice number, and the portal is going to run under whatever URL you want to run it under. So your portal, your company might be north49.com, and then you'll create a subdomain called login.north49.com or portal.north49.com, and that will be the URL under which your portal is going to run. So let's go ahead and click. Ronald Black received this email, and they're going to ahead and click it, and the system's going to come up, and you'll see in the URL here, we just fed it the customer number and the invoice number, got the customer number and the invoice number. The system immediately went and checked what is the current balance of this invoice and can it be paid. And the customer is going to go ahead and click the invoice here. So just, you know, in your mind, as I now go through explaining components, remember the customer is going to get this up, and they're going to go and click pay the invoice, and they're going to go ahead and pay it. A few other components on the screen. The method that the customer is allowed to pay on, that is controlled both on a global level in your portal, but also on a customer level. So you can have an agreement with the customer that because of the discounts you're giving them, they cannot pay by credit card, they need to pay by electronic check or ACH. And so that will be the only option that's available for them to pay. Another component on here is you'll see that there's a surcharge. And so this company, North49, has decided that if you pay via credit card, we're going to charge you 2.1% a fee, and let's call it a convenience fee and not a surcharge. That always just swallows so much easier. And if you pay via ACH, it will be a fixed $15 fee. So, you know, a calculated fee on credit card, a fixed fee on ACH. So if they do go ACH, the fee is going to charge to $15. If they go credit card, it's going to calculate that out. This is optional, of course. We will post this accurately into both the AR and general ledger. So we're going to pay off the invoice and then allocate this to a charge which you have entered into the portal with. What do we do with this? So that we don't end up having the customer's account in credit. Another feature you just want to touch on is Click to Pay in the North49 portal has so much more functionality other than just, hey, here's an invoice, go ahead and pay it. You could, for example, request the customer to prepay an order. You created an order and you want the customer to come through, and likewise, we're just going to ask you to give us the customer number, the order number. We'll validate that the order is outstanding, and we're going to go ahead and let the guy do a prepay on that. Or prepay a quote or do an unallocated. So, for example, you take an order, you want the customer to pay a retainer or a deposit before you send that into manufacturer, or the guy's account is horribly in arrears, you just want him to make a down payment of $500 on his account. Very easy, just send him a link or tell him to come to this page, click unallocated, put in his customer number, it'll ask him a validation question, probably zip code, and then he can make an unallocated payment. So far more than just paying the invoice, there's a lot of functionality on here. Okay, enough said. Remember, customer click the link on the invoice, they get here and they're going to go ahead and just say, okay, I want to pay this. We are processor agnostic, meaning that we integrate into multiple processors. This particular one is integrated into Paya. So I'm just going to go ahead and process. You'll see that we've taken the client away. He's now on the Paya screen, and he's going to make the payment. We're going to receive him back on our side. That means that we entirely sidestep PCI compliance issues here. We never touch the credit card, so there's no PCI issues. There's no credit card security issues. There's nothing to be hacked. And so you are staying on the safe side of security. Customer is going to give us his credit card. and he's going to pay us something. All the detail that we could send forward, we've sent forward. Of course, he gets an email here, so the customer is going to get an official email receipt. Pay now, go ahead and pay this document. Now the customer has paid this. He gets an immediate receipt feedback here. He can go ahead and print himself a copy of the receipt. He can PDF a copy of the receipt, do whatever he wants to with this receipt. And at the same time, a whole bunch of notifications happen in the background. So first of all, there are emails being sent out to confirm this receipt. And the first email, of course, is going to come to you as the merchant saying, hey, this customer has paid. And so here is the invoice that's just gotten through to us. It's addressed internally to our sales team. This, of course, is set up in the merchant admin portal. My customer, Ronald Black, has paid that amount. There you go. He's paid a surcharge using this card and card tab, etc. So you as a merchant will get notified by email. The customer is getting notified by email. He's got a copy, and then he can print a copy here. Moreover, we do integrate into both Microsoft Teams and Slack for real-time notification. So here's my Teams account. And there are free versions of both Slack and Teams. They work exactly the same. And it's really super cool because you are going to get immediate notification of anything happening on your portal. We've set up a team for portal called Portal Notifications. Of course, you're going to include in here whoever you want to receive these notifications. We've created channels within that team. Within each channel, you can say, I want, Bob to receive anything happening in AR. There's a contact us, so that'll be, customer service and so on. And then within Portal AR, you'll see that we've got an instant notification, a payment of that received from customer 1200, Mr. Ron Black, on that invoice. So notifications are happening real time. They're happening very fast. And so you're going to know immediately what's going on inside of the system. So with all of that said, let's go have a look at the portal. And if that was just the intro, I hope you're going to be suitably wowed. Just have a look at the front screen here very quickly. The logo at the top, of course, is going to be your logo. We allocated a reasonable amount of real estate here for you to do that. So you can have something like, the picture and then some sort of verbiage, do business with us because we rock. The welcome message is controlled by you. Very easy to set this. So that you can change this even to, an initial welcome, pointing at your terms and conditions, whatever that might be, or, happy 4th of July, etc. So we made these really easy to modify and maintain. Registration will happen in a number of ways, depending how you choose to do that. Anyway, from send you an email, say, hey, I'm Bob, I'm your customer, please create a user for me, all the way to what we call self-registration. And so I'm going to choose a username, tell you what my customer account is. There is a security question here. My name, email address, strong password control. The passwords are encrypted. They cannot be decrypted, not by us, not by you. So if somebody loses a password, there's a reset function that they have to follow, or you can, of course, shortcut by logging in and assigning a new password to them. Okay, there is a multilingual system. We currently support both English and French. We'll be happy to work with anybody else to bring out additional languages for this. So that kind of wraps up the front screen. Let's go ahead and log in, and then we'll start flipping to and fro between the portal and the underlying Sage 300, which supports us, just so we can show you our interaction into the two. There might be a smart idea for me to just stop. Remember that payment we just made for Ronald Black? Let's go back and have a look at our accounts receivable and have a look at our transactions and receipt batch list. And here is our batch created today. Comes from Azure portal. That's just what we called it. So it'll run on any platform. It doesn't require you to be deployed in Azure. It'll run on Prem or Azure or Net at Work or wherever you're deploying your Sage 300. So let's just drill in and have a look at that. Remember, we paid invoice number 61. We paid that amount on the invoice. That was the current balance. The total amount paid was that. And just to kind of show you what we did with that additional fee, there it is. We made an adjustment. if we have a look at the adjustment, it was adjusted to a distribution code called surcharge, which we've entered into the portal admin. And that will, of course, allocate it to the correct GL account, wherever you want that surcharge to go. So the payment for that $58 was applied against this, meaning it's going to post to that account in the general ledger. So, kind of debit, bank, credit, my surcharge account there. So you can control that. This entry was made real time. There was no kind of delay. There's never a need to import, export data ever. We read data real time. We write data real time. So let's go ahead and log in here. I'm N49. I've created a user N49 portal. That is a customer 1600, Dan Penn. And when Dan Penn logs in, he's going to get one of two potential messages. So message number one is a message between you and that particular customer. And so this is a message to Dan, just telling him that his application for extended terms has been granted. And so you are feeding through a message, and that could be, hello, happy birthday, whatever you want to communicate one-on-one with that customer. This is controlled from within Sage 300. So let's pop back in here, go to customers. Let's call up our Dan Penn customer account here. And in Dan Penn's account, we have comments. And here is a comment by type web. And there is that message that just popped up for Dan Penn. So you can communicate one-on-one with your customer simply from dealing directly within the AR account. So there's no need to log in anywhere. There's no need for you to do anything, go anywhere. You can simply have a look at it here. When Dan Penn on the other end clicks OK, so let's just go back to Dan. He's seen this message, he clicks OK. Let's go back here. Just move away from this and back again. You'll see that we've changed the comment type from web to WebAck, or web acknowledged, meaning Dan has seen this message. And in fact, if you look at the order date and timestamp on this record, you'll even know when Dan Penn saw that message. And so probably the first message you want to do is something like, if you continue, acknowledge our terms and conditions or whatever. And of course, it's going to build a history for you here. And so in amongst all your other notes and comments and admin and the checks in the mail kind of notes that you make on here, you simply need to filter down by web or web acknowledged to see a history of your communication with a client. So making it really easy for you to do that. The second message Dan is going to see is what we call a broadcast. A broadcast, unlike the one-on-one message, a broadcast goes out to everybody logging into your system. That would be, our new store hours, or 4th of July, or Canada Day, rather, whatever. So this is sent out to all the customers. And likewise, when Dan clicks OK here, we're flagging that message as having been seen. So when Dan logs in the next time, he's not going to see any of those messages. Okay, so that's kind of the intro here. Let's have a look at the functionality on the portal itself. Account activity, really very simply, is just that. It gives me a snapshot, my current balance, my terms code, the last invoice, the last statement, if it was there, recent invoices, payments, etc. So this is just really a snapshot. Peter mentioned that we will work across devices. So regardless of the device that you're viewing this on, this is going to remain infinitely viewable. You'll see my menu is kind of dropped down to the, what's called the hamburger, or the kind of fold out menu here. So I can click it with my finger. So the system is going to work literally regardless of the piece of equipment that you're running it on. So that's account activity. Let's have a look a little deeper. Let's go into more kind of transactional data here. So view transactions. View transactions, very simply, the number of transactions per page that I want to show, or open only. Open only is only going to show you transactions with a current balance. Hence, here is your statement of account as of right now. Remember this being read real time. So this is your account balance right now. I can filter by document type. The user or the merchant, the owner of the portal, can turn these on and off in his portal. So, for example, if you never charge interest, just take it off. It doesn't belong there. There's no interest charges to be paid. From here, the user can drill down into the originating document. Now, we do have a look when the user clicks on a document. We will see where that document originated. Is an order entry invoice? Is an account receivable invoice? Is it a summary, a detail invoice? Yada, yada. And we are going to display the appropriate format for that document. So if it is an order entry document, we're going to show the order entry document, with quantity shipped, quantity back ordered, etc. If it is, of course, an AR document, that is not going to be there. So we will drill down to the originating document. We've created interfaces into other systems, for example, into Framework, which is a pharmaceutical system. So when the user clicks on a document in AR, we actually fetch the original invoice out of Framework so we can show medication and dosages and so on and so on. So it really is very flexible in that regard, and we can, as Peter mentioned, do customizations on this. When I drill down into a receipt, for example, we will show against what it was allocated, etc. So we try and feed back as much sensible information as we possibly can to a customer. Let's have a look at pay account. I'll start with managed credit cards. We do have an option for the user to store credit cards. Now, as I've said before, we never touch a credit card, so we don't actually store the credit card. We store what's called a token. So the card is, in credit card processing speak, the card is vaulted at your merchant processor, at your credit card processor, and they turn back to us a token. That token is useless in anybody else's hand. It will only work with your merchant account and that particular credit card. So we can store it. You do have an option to either store it on the portal, or if you have an integrated system in Sage 300, we can store it there. So we are using Paya here for this particular portal. Paya, as you know, has an integration into Sage 300. So this credit card is actually not stored on the portal, it's stored in that customer account. So if we go back to Dan Penn, have a look at credit cards, here is that credit card that is stored in Dan Penn. So as he can use that over here, and so can you on inside of Sage 300. So we will store the card there. There's a delete option here. We don't ever delete a record, a credit card record, because there may be transactions halfway being processed or authorization waiting to be captured, etc. So we will simply flag this as inactive, so the customer cannot see the card here, but you still have access to the card internally. Okay, so that is card maintenance. Let's go have a look at pay account. Remember, with click to pay, you could come up and pay a particular document. Of course, with the pay account, you have open access. So if this customer just wants to come and say, okay, settle my account, go ahead and do that. We'll kill the whole account off. We'll pay the whole account. If he wants to choose certain ones, he can. There is an option for you to let the customer override the payment, so short pay for some reason or another. Probably worthy of an internal discussion before you allow that, but the option does exist so that you can allow somebody to override or not. I'm going to choose 3 here. I'm going to make a payment. We've gone through all the yada yada chat about this. There's a stored card. It's selected as the preferred payment. So I'm just going to go ahead and make the payment. And because we're paying this card with a stored card, there's no need to take the customer out to go fill his card information again. So he literally just paid that, and that's that. And of course, as you might expect, Dan Penn is going to get an email saying that he's paid those 3 documents. North49 is going to get an email saying he paid those 3 documents. And just to hammer this to death, I got an instant notification saying that Dan Penn paid those 3 documents. So this is going to happen real time. Of course, back in the ranch over here, if we just go back to our transaction receipt batch list, and then I promise I'll stop flipping to and fro on receipts, because you'll know that I'm showing you what's happening. Here it is, invoices being paid, etc., etc. So the transactions are taking place in real time as we go ahead processing. Very briefly, to make a prepayment, we can go in and do a prepayment. You can turn on and off which of these you want here. You don't. It's not an all or nothing. So make a very quick advance payment. A deposit here is just going to make an unallocated cash transaction. So I'm not going to demo that. If I prepay an order, we are actually doing this the right way. So if we look at order number 75, back over here, order number 75 has a current balance of $411. So let's just call this guy up here. Here we go. Have a look at this. So here it is, this order. If we look at the total here, the balance 411.59. There's no payments made. The outstanding balance 459. So let's go ahead over here. We're looking at that order. We can very briefly just kind of click on the order. So if the customer just wants to, have a quick look at, hey, what am I going to be paying here? He can do that. So he can just very quickly, here's the list. There's a miscellaneous charge and 2 items on this order. I want to go ahead and pay order number 75 for $411. Let's go ahead and make the payment. I'm going to stop talking and just make this quick. And the customer has now done a prepayment on order 475. We go order 75. We go back here. Let's navigate away and back to that guy and look at the totals. We now have a prepayment there. There's nothing outstanding. And in the receivables batch, there's now an entry for this having been made. Please believe me, I promise. Okay. So that's prepayments. Let's move on to order entry. Order entry, let's start with view order statuses. There's just a jam-packed full of good stuff on the screen. First of all, how many transactions do I want to see? Show all or open only. What transaction types do I want to see? View by order, view by item. View by item is going to give the user a list of back-ordered items, essentially. Let's have a look at functionality here. So we can display quotes. The customer can click on something if they want to do. The status here is gleaned from either one of the document type, or document the record status. So we'll just look, it's approved, etc. This all comes from order entry. We're not doing anything magic. But if you have the need to expand on the functionality of what a status could be, we do allow you to use an optional field for that. And then you can put in, got your order is being evaluated, your order is being sent to shipment or manufacturing, expect to ship in 2 weeks. Whatever you want to put into that optional field is going to display as the order status here. I can, of course, draw right into an order and have a look at the actual order document. I can, of course, print myself a copy of that document, PDF or copy, whatever I want to do. So from here, I can self-serve on my documents. 2 other pieces of functionality. One, if a document has been invoiced, I can then start tracking that document. So I can click on it. There's a tracking number here. I've got this. If I want to view a document, if I track on item level, we can track that document on item level. Since I am here, I can click on that and have a look at the actual invoice that was issued. If there were multiple invoices, they will be listed here, of course. And then another piece of functionality which we built in, which allows you to do an RFQ, a request for quote. So a client contacts you saying, hey, give me a quote on 15 widgets. And we will allow a customer to process a quote through the order, and I'll show through the portal, and I'll show that in just a second. So the customer is coming to you and saying, hey, give me a quote on something. So the quote comes in, gets posted as a quote internally, and it then waits for approval. So here is a quote. The customer asks for a quote on 2 things, waiting for us to approve that quote. Once we have approved that quote, we can then say to the customer, your quote's been approved. The customer can say, okay, I just want to turn this quote into a real-time order. So go ahead and confirm that order. And the system is then going to generate, it now generated order number 77. Customer can, of course, view a copy, print a copy, etc. So let's just close that. And our quote number 77 now appears. So RFQ, so there was the quote. There's the live order that was created. The status is an order has been created. That, of course, is going to show me the order on multiples, well, the order being created. And now I have an order created internally. And this order number 77 was, of course, written directly into my system. So if we go up here and we just call up our last orders here again, here's my RFQ for new building project that was generated real time off the system. So within the view order function, even there's a whole heap of functionality. Finally, on this side of the portal, let's go have a look at order entry, and I'll make this as quick as I possibly can. Ship to locations coming directly out of ship tos in AR. I can, of course, go and create a new one, and not create a new one, but create a new one for this order and fill it in. My PO number would be, PO Etienne, delivery date, requested delivery date. I want it delivered on 31st. Ship via code. We know that ship via very often is an internally facing field, so you have an option of displaying or not. And then please let Pete know that we are shipping. There you go. And then just to make this easy, we can kind of slide that out of the way. Remember, Pete said we will work on any device, so we keep that throughout the system. And now we can go ahead and process out 3 levels of detail you may show based on how you want to set this up. So first of all, just a very simple kind of, give me a calculator and I want one of them and they're $16. We do have the concept of a salesperson. So if a salesperson is logged in, you may want to give him override on the price or not. It is an option. Second level of detail you may want to show is the 4 additional item option information fields. So let's go ahead, pick our calculator again. And so now he gets this kind of, here's a little bit more info for you. And I want 2 of these this time, and go ahead and add that to my screen. The third level would be you do have the option of showing images. So if you do have images attached to your products, we can show images or multiple images. So as Pete said, we don't pretend to be a e-commerce web store, but this gets pretty close on a B2B environment if your customers already know what they want. Peter mentioned that we will search across multiple fields to go find items. So the item SKU number, description, 4 additional item information field. We'll also search, if you deploy that within your Sage, the customer item number for items. So they literally can fill in their own item number and then go ahead and process the order. Whether you want to place an order or place a quote, this is an option. So most folks will turn quote off unless you want to use quote for some reason. You can have either or both open here. So let's go ahead and place order. Remember our last order was 77. So I'm going to place this order and I'm expecting the system then to create order number 78 for me. There you go. I can have a view at this document. There you go. That's my order. I can print a copy. A copy is going to be emailed. The copy is going to go notified. You can hear my email pinging in the background here as I'm getting notified that there was one. And of course, just to kind of kill this off together, portal OE, customer placed an order for 3 items. So my sales folks are going to know straight away that an order was placed on the web. If we go back here, let's go ahead to order number 78. Here's my order, my PO Etienne. Please let Peter know that we're here. We do flag the orders as being entered on the portal by whom, so you can see that. Whether you want to create them or hold or not is an option. And we do mark them as having been entered by electronic commerce. So if you want to know all orders that came in through the portal, you can just click the find button and say not shipped to known order status. Oh my goodness, somebody changes now. I've got to go find that. Order source, there you go. Order source equals electronic commerce, and that's going to give you all the orders that came in through your electronic commerce. If you want to refine this, of course, go set the criteria. Show me all orders coming in through electronic commerce that are on hold, and that's going to give you the orders which you need to pay attention to this morning. Okay. I think that kind of takes us through the portal. I will very briefly show you, there is, of course, a contact us form, etc. The customer can have a look at their account, change the password. Let me show you very briefly what you will see, or what the merchant, the owner of the portal, is going to see when they log in. So I've created a portal owner or a portal admin. And let's go ahead and log in. And the first thing I'm going to see is just some sort of dashboard. This is what's busy. Remember, we've processed 3 payments today, right? We paid the document 61 of our click to pay, then we paid the 3 documents, and then we made a prepayment on an order. So, that month to date, year to date, etc. And we do actually have customers that process in excess of $500,000 through the portal on an annual basis. I can look at the numbers, or I can look at the amounts. I know who's logged into my system. If there are any unprocessed documents, they're going to show up here for me. I know that there have been folks testing this morning, so I'm not going to mess with that, but it will show me if there's any documents here that needs my attention. I can have a look at users. This allows me to control users, add users, deactivate them, etc. Remember, we spoke about our broadcast message. There's a reset button if I wanted to start broadcasting again. Receipts. Here are those 3 unprocessed ones that my team is busy processing this morning. Here are the 3 we've made today. And of course, on here, we can have a look at these. So there were the 3 documents being paid. There's my invoice number 61 being paid. Here is my prepayment being paid, etc. on document order number 75. We specifically made this very searchable, even by date ranges, amount ranges, document numbers. So let's have a document number here, document number 39. So show me everywhere where the document number equals 39, and the system is going to come up with and show me all those payments. The reason here is that we want to give you a kind of a defense, if you will. If for some reason a payment kind of goes missing, and it can't because it's going to be written into a batch. But if a customer calls you up and say, I paid something, you can come and have a look here. And if there was a problem, it'll show incomplete. And incomplete is where the guy goes away, goes to the merchant, a screen in front of him, sees the squirrels, go, oh, squirrel, and off he goes to check Facebook, and never completes the payment. Well, we don't know that, so we're going to flag that as incomplete to just give you a notice. You will get notified if there are incomplete payments. Okay. Setup controls how a user can register. Do we look at the allow on web flag in AR to allow a guy on? So you can just within AR uncheck that flag if this is on and the guy cannot log in, etc. The security question, the logo. As I said, we leave a lot of space. We make it really easy for you to change your logo. So if you do want to change your logo, just kind of pop that message and you can upload a new logo. What's your default language? A user coming to the site for the first time will land on that. When a user selects another language to view the site in, this saves as a cookie, and so the next time he comes back, he's going to see this logo in French. Let's go back to English here, etc. Welcome message. Let's go on. Features and functions. I said we can turn things on and off really easy. Here we go. What type of prepayments would you like? We can turn them on and off here. If we don't want prepayments, we can just kind of turn them all off by turning that function off there, and that's going to disable prepayments, for example. Where would you like to store your card IDs, within Sage or within the portal, etc.? What document types do you want to display? Remember, we said if you don't have interest, just turn it off here, and interest is not going to display. So we're really making this as simple as we can. Payment processing, very simple. We do allow you to enter a maximum amount payable by card. If it exceeds that amount, we want the user to pay by some other means, so ACH or EFT. If you want some verbiage display on the screen here, in some states that might be legally required, you can do that. Do you want to allow partial payments? Remember, we said you can turn this on and off. For fees and surcharges, if you do have them, give us the distribution code where we should post that to, and then your processor information at the bottom here. You can run multiple processes. In fact, you have to have different merchant accounts if, for example, you want to process in multiple currencies. So you can turn those on and off here. And then notifications. Remember, we spoke about notifications going out and how they go out. So new users registering, so we've broken this into your technical contacts. If something's wrong, hey, have a look at your system. We cannot connect. AR contact, so for new user, payment received or incomplete transactions. How do you want to register? These are really dead simple. So for example, to set up a Slack integration, and there is, as I said, a free copy, so just use it. You just, add Slack. It's going to take you to your Slack account. I am logged in, but if you weren't, it'll ask you to log in. It'll ask you which channel do you want to post this to, and just say allow. That's going to generate a flag or a web hook. Just paste that webhook in here, turn the feature on over here, and you're done. It's going to notify you. They're really simple to do these things. And then order entry and all the notifications and questions, what's your default location? Do you have a default price list? We do honor all the pricing models within Sage. So if you do say here, use the customer price list, then we're going to do that, and we're going to honor every price that customer has. We will also control the items that a customer can buy based on his prices. So if an item is not on a particular customer's prices, he won't be able to purchase it. And so here are all the setup things. Where do you want to show images? Where do you store your images? Do you want to upload the images to the portal servers or not? So I think with a kind of very fast run through that, I'm going to hand back to Peter. If there are any questions, please post them, and I'll stand by to continue to answer those. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Etienne. I was struggling to find my unmute button there. Let me share my screen again, just a couple of wrap-up slides to show you guys. So hopefully you found that useful, practical, something that your clients might be able to make use of. Etienne, my screen showing now? I don't get any indication of that.
Yes, your screen is showing.
Okay, good. So from a partner support perspective, we'll do just about anything you need us to do. I mean, we often will do one-on-one presentations with your customers. Just, give us a ring. We have an online calendar that I can share with you that shows you our availability. So it's a lot easier to schedule these things. Typically, we'll book about an hour just to understand what the customer wants to see, and then go through a similar presentation to what you saw today for them. If you need some assistance or would like to get the word out to your customers, we're happy to do lunch and learn or webinars, or help you with some content for email blasts. Our website is a good source of brochures, and the pricing is all published there. And again, we're on the Sage price list. There's some videos available there as well. And on our YouTube channel, Sage Marketplace is another good place to find our information. And even in, what is it called? Sage Advance? Is that the new the portal where you have all the marketing information? So I think there's a campaign put in there, so you could run as well. But if you need some assistance with any of that, just reach out to me. I am happy to help in any way that we can. One thing I want to make sure that everyone's aware of is we do consume a Sage user license. So let's make sure that the customer understands that up front. And there is a one-time setup fee, and all the pricing is on the screen here. So on the left, this is all the stuff that you need to know about. And then on the right, this is all the pricing, both US and Canadian dollars. For each of these components. So the baseline is the customer portal, and then the add-ons would be online payments or the quick order entry. And with online payments, you also get the prepayments and the click to pay and all that stuff that I can show you. So we're trying to make this very affordable, trying to make it an easy decision for customers to make. We've got at least one case study out there where they paid for this thing inside of 2 weeks because of them saving one full-time equivalent just on collecting payments from customers. And there's also some other customer comments out there as well. If you use Orchid software products at all, their portal is based on the North49 customer portal. So if you're looking around in there for your activation codes and renewals and all that stuff, that's the North49 customer portal. And there's a few Sage development partners that use our product. So that's us. That's who we are. If you need anything, reach out. We're happy to help in any way that you need us. So please do so. Last chance for questions for anybody. Don't see anything popping up in the chat nor in the Q&A. So hopefully we were able to address everything that may have come up. But as you have conversations with your customers and questions come up, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to answer them and get engaged with you as you have those conversations. So with that, we will give you a few minutes back in your day, and thank you again for joining us. We hope to hear from you soon to help your clients get a customer portal set up. Thanks, everyone.